Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Angela Brennan and today I'm going to show you some embossing folder techniques. I use the Craft Your Life project kit Feathered Lilies and I use mainly the embossing folder, but one of the techniques I also use the stencils, and for the sentiments I use some of the stamps. So you only can get the embossing folder if you buy the Craft Your Life project kit. They do not sell the stamps of embossing folders or stencils individually. So it's a kit that you can get via subscription every month, or you can just purchase it from the website. I think via subscription you get it slightly below the retail price. So the first technique I'm going to show you is I use a thick card. You can use either the Strathmore Bristol smooth card, or you could use Nina Solar £100 or £80 card, as long as it's smooth so that when you do the ink blending it goes on really well. So I use three colors here. I use Altenew crisp dye inks, Rouge, Parrot and Tide Blue. Now though I use three colors, when the colors overlap, so when the Rouge overlaps with the Parrot you get a slight orangey color, and when the Parrot overlaps with the Tide Blue you get a slightly different green. So you do apply it quite thickly, and using the large blending brushes does help. I don't have many blending brushes, the large ones. I just have one for each color family. So as you can see, I have put little tags on it: blue, green and red, and I use that for pinks. When you want to change colors, you just clean it really well, either on a scrap piece of paper or on some cloth, dry cloth, so it actually gets the previous color out, and it's really easy to apply the color. So here I'm applying the three colors, and I always, as I normally do, apply the first color at the top and the last color at the bottom, and then I apply the color in between, in the middle. If I'm using three colors, I tend to do that. For the second card, I used the embossing folder with the coordinating stencil which comes with a Craft Your Life project kit Feathered Lilies. Before I put it into the embossing folder, I use a thick white card, pretty much the same one as the previous card, and I spritz water just to soften the fibers in the paper so that the paper doesn't crack or the card doesn't crack when it's put through the embossing folder. I use the layered stencils to ink up the flowers, the leaves and the stamens. Now when I previously used the stencil, I was quite rough in cleaning the stencil and I inadvertently broke one of the stamens, which is why I try and compensate by trying to cover it. But it's okay, if you break it. You can actually use something else or you can just mask it over with a different color. But you do need to be careful when you are wiping or cleaning the stencils so you don't break quite the delicate parts of the stencil because it would make it unusable the next time. Something to note for future use. Following the layering guide in the packaging, if you've managed to misplace it, the layering guide is available in the Altenew website and I have that linked in my blog, and the link to my blog is in the description below. Just following the layering guide and using the 3 numbered stencils systematically, you would end up coloring or inking the entire image. The ink colors I've chosen, I use the darkest colors that are closest to the stem. So for the leaves, it's closest to the stem. For the flowers, it's closest to the flower center. And then for the stamens, I use a darker color for the stamen stalk and then a lighter color for the stamens. All the colors I use are available in my blog, and the link to my blog is in the description below. So just following the layering guide, choosing the colors you want, and you can end up with quite a beautifully inked embossed image. Also using the appropriate tools. So in this embossing, I end up using the small blending brush, the detail blending brush, and the mini blending brush. Because there are various sizes of openings in the stencil, using the right size stencil brush makes a difference. So you can put the right pressure of the color, whether it's a darker color or lighter color, to get the depth of the image that you want. So having the right tools to the job does make a difference. There are many lovely sentiments to choose from the stem set that comes with the Craft Your Life project kit Feathered Lilies. I choose the sentiments I like, and I love stamping sentiments with the Altenew Obsidian pigment ink because it gives it such a crisp, nice finish. And I also like to emboss my sentiments with clear embossing powders. I use the Altenew Crystal Clear Crisp Embossing Powder. This allows the sentiment to look crisp with the obsidian black ink, but it also gives it a nice finish with the shine of the embossing powder. So this is how I generally tend to put my sentiments on the front of my cards if I'm stamping it. Sometimes rather than put a mat for my card and I want a frame for the card panel, and if I don't have the exact color of the mat, I use the ink, the crisp dye inks, to ink the frame of the card base, and then I place my card panel on it. And this is one way to do it. It's impossible to have all colors of cards for the mats you want to use, but matching it with the colors that you use in the image on the card panel, you can easily ink the frame of the card base and then place your card panel on it. And this is what I do for this card. For the third card, I use Altenew watercolor brush markers. Here I place or I scribble brush markers or pigment onto the debossed side of the embossing folder. That is the side with the label of the embossing folder on it. I scribble the colors I've chosen, which is some greens for the leaves, some blues some teals rather for the petals. I've got a dark and a light, and I've also got some, I think it's fresh lemon for the stamens. All the colors are listed in my blog, and the link to my blog is in the description below. Once I finish scribbling all the pigment I want on the debossed side of the embossing folder, I take my fine mister and I spritz it a couple of times onto the embossing folder. It's okay if the water pools. That's what it's meant to do. And then you also spritz the watercolor card that you're going to put into the embossing folder. But remember, it's going to be a little bit messy when you put it through your die cutting machine with the proper sandwich. But that's okay. You just wipe it off and then you'll get an amazing look on your watercolor paper. For the final technique of embossing folders, I use pigment inks, crisp dye pigment inks from Watercolor with the blending tools, and I apply pigment onto the embossed part of the embossing folder. Here I also use a watercolor card and I spritz water onto the embossing folder after applying ink, and I also spritz some water with the fine mister onto the watercolor card and I emboss it. The image is quite amazing. Now, if you're not happy with the colors you have achieved, you can repeat the process until you're happy with the pigment that you have on your embossed image. Here are all the cards that I have made All of my embossed card panels I have backed with fun foam because I feel if it's an embossed image, to give it some kind of sturdiness, backing the card panel with fun foam provides that, as well as some dimension, and gives the card a bit of a nice finish. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And when you do subscribe, remember to press the notification bell so you're alerted when a new video is uploaded. All of the information, close-up pictures, products used, etc. is available on my blog, and the link to my blog in the description below. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I'll catch you at the next video. In the meantime, happy crafting and take care.